Dogman Stories.
Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to tonight's episode of Dogman Stories, episode 13, part 2, Dover Demon, with your host Amanda Lawson. I would like to take this time to apologize for not having part 2 up immediately after part 1. Unfortunately, there was a horrible accident that happened here, and I would just like to thank everyone for understanding and continue to wait for the show. I do appreciate each and every one of you's patience. So without further ado, let's get into the story. I heard a loud rustling sound. It sounded like something had just moved quickly through the trees. Chris asked, "What was that?" She was scared by now. She had come behind Sean and held onto his back for protection. I was expecting a lynx or some kind of wild cat. I hadn't clued into my mind that it might be something far worse. I took a step closer to Carissa and Sean. I began peering through the trees, trying to get a look at what was causing the noise. That's when I spotted it. The first thing I noticed was its body on the tree. It was up in a hardwood tree that had light color bark. Its skin was a bit darker and an off-green color. The second thing I noticed, its eyes. They were glowing yellow. It was approximately 30 to 50 feet away up in the tree. I was speechless. It was amphibious looking. It sent a cold streak of terror through me. Its large head did have a look of disconcertable nose or a mouth. As I stared at it, I came to realization it was staring back at me. Its face held a look of pure hatred. Fear had me frozen solid. It wasn't till Sean grabbed my shoulder and asked what was wrong that I was able to break my paralysis. I said, "Over there," and lifted my finger to point at it. Carissa screamed at the top of her lungs and began to run. That's when the monster jumped to another tree closer to us. I was able to make out the monster had humanoid features. It had 2 arms with hands and 2 legs with feet. As the creature held onto a tree, I could make out that it had long fingers with claws, and the fingers were webbed. Sean grabbed my hand and began pulling me. He had to yell at me to run. I began running as I held Sean's hand. I could hear the creature crashing from treetop to treetop after us. We got up the steep bank and we were running through the trees. All of a sudden, I tripped on an ancient barbed wire fence that had rotted to the ground long ago. My friend Sean came back for me. As I was getting my footing and facing the opposite direction of the monster, Sean had turned around to help me up. Sean had turned around and could see the monster up above us. He yelled, "Leave us alone!" We began running as fast as our feet could take us. Once we got out into the field, there were no more tall trees over our head. A feeling of relief came over me. It was short-lived, because not long after we got into the field, we heard a loud, high-pitched scream. I don't know how to describe it, because I had never heard anything like it before or since then. All I know was the monster was pissed. The scream went on uninterrupted. The same blood-curdling scream rang out from the forest for what seemed like eternity. Just as soon as the first scream stopped, another scream rang out. The birds began flying out of the forest. It was as if they were scared too. We could see Sean's house off into the distance. Carissa was halfway there. Once we got to Sean's house, we were in disbelief. We never seen or heard tell of such a creature. We quickly walked to Sean's grandmother's house. We couldn't run anymore because our lungs were burnt from exhaustion. She lived in the house next to Sean's. Once we got into her house, she knew something was up. We told her what had happened, and she assumed we had seen a wild cat. We protested that there was no way this thing was a wild cat. I asked for a piece of paper and a pen so I could draw what I had seen. That's when Sean's grandmother demanded that we all draw what we had seen in separate corners of the kitchen. Once we finished, we brought our pictures to her, and to her surprise, we all drew the same creature. Carissa only drew its head because that's all she seen before running off. Me and Sean's drawings were nearly identical, save for the differences of personal drawing abilities, that is. We didn't want to walk home alone. Sean decided to stay the night with his grandmother. I called my mom, and she came and picked me and Carissa up. She dropped Carissa off at her house, and I went home for the night in total shock of what I had seen. A few days after the sighting, we told our friend Ronnie about the monster we had seen. Ronnie was a nerdy friend who was a few years older than us. He didn't like leaving the house much because he was addicted to his computer and Xbox. We always wanted to show him one thing or another, and he always wanted to show us something he always found on the internet when we visited. Ronnie was very intelligent and was into all types of strange things. The year was 2003, and he was the only kid we knew at the time who had a computer and internet. When we told him about what we had saw, he said it reminded him of a chupacabra, but he had read about the creature being in the southern United States and Mexico. He said he hadn't read about any monsters being in Nova Scotia before. We were all ears when he told us that there were mysterious monsters in North America. He went to his computer and dialed up the internet. As we stood around him listening to the high-pitched squeals coming from the computer, he told us about how the chupacabra is known to feed on cattle and other farm animals. He said that they were blood suckers, that it sucks the blood from the animal, leaving the corpse untouched. The thoughts of the creature I seen sucking the blood out of me while I was slowly dying scared the hell out of me. When he finally got the picture up of the chupacabra, we knew instantly what we seen had not been a chupacabra. Ryan told us that there were all kinds of monsters out there, that they're rarely seen like the Bigfoot. We drew Ryan a picture of what we had seen, and he instantly said, "Your monster looks like a Dover demon." When Ryan pulled up a picture of a Dover demon, we knew instantly that that is what we saw. It was some type of demon that was first reported back in Dover, Massachusetts in the late 1970s in the summer months. Dover isn't very far from the Atlantic Ocean. Massachusetts is a maritime state, just like Nova Scotia is a maritime province. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch to believe that a Dover demon migrated along the coastline till it got to modern Nova Scotia. After all, the Dover sighting predated ours 25 years. All I know is that what I saw was pure evil. It wasn't very big. The monster was approximately 4 feet tall, but very thin. Although it was thin, it had a distinct muscle mass. Its eyes are terrifying. and it was fast. I think the only reason it hadn't attacked was because we outnumbered it. I do believe if Sean hadn't come back for me, it would have pounced me while I was down. Sean told me when he came running back for me, he seen it jump to a tree closer to me. He yelled at it because he thought it was going to come down on me. He didn't know what else to do. The noise it made when we escaped out into the field made me think it was either screaming in anger or summoning others to help it. All three of us had since moved from that area. We never seen it again. Sean and I even worked up the nerve to try to hunt it down when we got a bit older. Sean's mother and father were gone for the weekend, and we waited till they were gone to get Sean's father's rifles. Sean had a semi-automatic with short clip, while I had a single-shot bolt action. We had to wait till his parents were completely out of the neighborhood so we could go. As soon as we had the chance, we went out in search of this monster. The whole weekend we traced what we had seen to no avail. Maybe it moved on elsewhere in the Providence. Perhaps it went back to the States. I don't know. I just know the Dover demon had made New Muscovia its home, and that it wanted one of us dead. We thought that if we shot and killed the demon, we'd go down in history as the first people to bag a monster. Foolish, childish things, I know. For all we know, the thing could have killed us with our own guns. I tell you that it's highly intelligent by the look of its eyes, and very terrifying. I hope I never run into it again as long as I live. Well, thank you very much. That was an awesome story. I know it wasn't a Dogman story, but hey, we love to hear about creatures here at Dogman Stories, even if it's not a Dogman. Now stay tuned for part 3. We're going to have us a Dogman story now. And also, this Dover demon creature, as far as I can tell, it's kind of like a alien-looking lizard-type creature. I don't know, it's creepy looking, but as we always say, don't just pay attention to the ground. Look up in the trees also. And that even goes for the Dogman. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you back here in a few.